A unit of the regular army. There's no conscription in North Vietnam. All soldiers are volunteers. And behind the army, there's a whole nation at arms.
Another advantage in landing atop high ground is that the assault forces are unable to attack downhill. This decreases fatigue and speeds up ground movement. The enemy is given little time in which to adjust his defenses to the attack. In an effort to land behind the enemy, some of the troops are required to land on terrain where natural obstacles make it far from an ideal landing zone. But the men of the air mobile team are extremely resourceful and manage to complete their landings despite the hazards. Here, for instance, some of the troops must descend into the solid mass of tall jungle in order to take up a strategic blocking position. The descent is made with the aid of a trooper ladder. An air mobile landing, which has been slowed down by difficult terrain, is vulnerable to attack by the enemy. In this situation, it is vital to have suppressive fires placed on the perimeter of the landing zone by the fire support elements of the air mobile team. The artillery forward observer plays a critical role, calling in and directing artillery fire. Another triumph of the air mobile team is its truly remarkable ability to shuttle artillery through the air. In Vietnam today, most aerial delivery of these field pieces is being accomplished by huge Chinook helicopter sling delivery. New lightweight howitzers have been developed especially for this role. From these forward battery positions, the artillery can not only support the troops moving up in the field, but can cover the landings of other battalion-sized units at nearby satellite landing zones. Further support for the foot soldier comes from the Air Force. The Air Force counterpart of the Army Forward Observer is the FAC, the Forward Air Controller. Riding in Air Force spotter planes, the FAC can call in devastating jet airstrikes on enemy positions. The Air Force provides close air support until it can no longer attack the target without endangering our own troops. Spectacular though the air mobile team's assaults are, these brilliant aerial deployments would grind to a halt on the ground if the troops were not constantly supplied and resupplied with the many articles of war needed to fight the battles. Things like jeeps and water trailers and ammunition. Spot delivery of mail, communications equipment, small arms ammunition, and food is a vital part of every operation. Pure fresh water supplies are as important as food, due to the fact that natural water sources in Vietnam are carriers of disease. One of the most outstanding aerial delivery feats, however, is the constant shuttling in of tons of heavy shells, which are consumed so rapidly by the forward artillery units. Aerial resupply means not only materiel, but manpower as well. The Army Air Mobile Team's ability to rush reinforcements by helicopter and move troop units to keep up with rapidly changing situations on the ground has led to some of the Viet Cong's most crushing defeats. The enemy could not anticipate the reaction timing of this swift air mobility. Keeping the swarms of helicopters airborne so long and so often is made possible only because the team gives these aircraft expert maintenance on the ground. Checkups and inspection procedures are exacting and carried out according to a rigid schedule. After every combat mission, an inspection is made for possible damage.
The Americans have protection from big 175mm guns at Camp Carroll, about 17 miles to the east, and at the Rock Pile, about 12 miles to the northeast. Inside the garrison, the troops have a handful of tanks, anti-tank weapons, 4.2-inch mortars, and about 20 artillery pieces, including 105 and 155mm howitzers. But their secret weapon is their air power. Fighter bombers of the Navy, Marines, and Air Force, capable of mounting 600 flights a day, plus the terrifying power of B-52 bombers that can drop 500 and 750-pound bombs on 50 bomber runs a day. And then there are the supply planes, giant C-130s and 123s that build a lifeline through the shrapnel-infested skies to keep the Marines supplied with food, ammunition, medical supplies, building materials, and mail from home.
And according to our calculations, we could supply Quezon by parachute drop, and we had prepared ourselves for this contingency some 18 months before. During the ensuing period, I had required the commanders to rely from time to time on aerial resupply to practice the system and get the pilots accustomed to dropping these supplies in all weather conditions.
One of them was an American employer who tried to get all his staff out. And then, shortly after midday, came the climax of 30 years of fighting. The first North Vietnamese troops entered the city packed into trucks that flew the red and blue flag of the Communist Provisional Revolutionary Government, the PRG. Minutes later, their Russian-made tanks smashed down the gates of the presidential palace and took up positions in the grounds. There was no resistance. South Vietnamese troops were soon flushed out and surrendered without a fight. So, on its final day, the communist offensive ended without bloodshed, but with a display of potential firepower